and a little bit more of the history of the education that happened in Hoopa. The first day school in Hoopa was in the 1880s, and it was started by the Methodist Church. It was attended by, on average, about 25 people. And then in 1893, it was transitioned into a boarding school that was located here on the Hoopa Valley Reservation. In 1932, the boarding school was turned into a public school. And we like to mention that our College of the Redwoods HCATEP Klamath-Trinity Instructional Site is located on that exact spot where the old boarding school used to be. I even remember growing up, like I used to be able to see the building. They turned it into like a gymnasium for a little while, but it's something that's where we're able to sort of reclaim our education and take back, what it used to be and the negative impact that boarding schools had on Native communities. Is that
Okay, yeah, that's me. In 1994, the Hoopa Valley tribe established a grant through the U.S. Department of Education through Native Americans Career and Technical Education Program. And with that, they founded a program called the Hoopa Career and Technical Education Program, or short HCATEP, right? The purpose of this grant was to prepare and educate Native Americans and natives to work with existing occupations within the Hoopa Valley community. The tribe offered a variety of community college courses at the Klamath-Trinity Instructional Site. So, I mean, you could attend Shasta College, you could attend College of the Redwoods, you could attend some classes through Humboldt Extended Education, and a lot of those classes were presented through telepresence format. However, in 2021, the tribe agreed with the College of the Redwoods to form a partnership through an MOA, making them the only school that would offer classes at our location. And with that, they created a what is considered a instructional site. So we are now the Klamath-Trinity Instructional Site for College of the Redwoods. Kind of about our memorandum of agreement, the MOA. It's changed over the years because of that. It's negotiated between the tribe and the school. Right now we're on a 4-year agreement, and we just renegotiated it for an additional 5 years. And with that, it kind of sets a clear structure on what's the tribe's responsibility and what the College of the Redwoods responsibilities are to operate the site here. Here's just some examples of what the.
I lost track of what slide we're on.
No worries. We're on 7, I believe. Okay.
Okay.
And so here's an example of the responsibilities that are kind of built into the MOA. So our program is provided $174,000 annually for operational and administrative costs. And that's like to pay. So I mean, and that's kind of one of the unique things about our site is like we're all providing services to community college students, but the majority of our wages come from the Hoopa Valley tribe, right? So this is just a little portion that they give to kind of buffer those wages. Paid the educational department $40,000 annually to rent the space where our campus is located. We get we get 100,000 per MOA period to make improvements on the building, and then up until just like I think this week, there was only a few of us that were College of the Redwoods employees, right? There was 3 of us that were student support specialists, and we would get like 5 hours a week doing that. Misty is the site manager, but Misty was able to negotiate within this new MOA to ensure that all employees here through the HCATEP program are now going to be College of the Redwoods employees as well. Okay, employ qualified instructors for all scheduled courses at KTIS and strives to provide faculty to represent cultural experience, provide relevant training to KTIS, perform routine maintenance and install program upgrades on district-owned technology and other equipment.
And part of that MOA, the tribe had not as quite as many responsibilities, but like Matt said, they also paid the majority of all of our wages. You know, we get a large amount from the HCATEP funding. But so the tribe's responsibilities were, we provide academic achievement activities to the KTIS students. So we have a couple celebrations, we have a dinner. Actually, this Friday, we're getting ready to host our commencement dinner. And then the tribe maintains all of their own technology and equipment. And it's kind of important to know that they're very particular over it. So CR came in at one point and took back all of their technology and all of the information that they thought that they were sharing between the tribe and CR. And so now it's kind of in their MOA about who's responsible for what technology, because it took a long time for the tribe to get back some of the information for their HCATEP funding and their grant, because CR had come in and took all of their computers back. So it's really important on having our staff still be CR employees, because if they're not employees, they get limited access to anything that's College of the Redwoods. So that's why I really wanted to make sure that everybody had access to like the CR emails and just being a CR employee as well as a tribal employee. So we have the HCATEP responsibilities. So part of the funding that we get, we have to track the students that are going through our program. Our objectives are to provide the industry recognized certificates and degrees here. You know, we do agriculture, business. Business is a huge one. We have computer science, construction technology. Early childhood is another big degree pathway. Math and science, behavioral social science, medical assisting, nursing. Basically anything CTE related that we can offer a degree or certificate in at College of the Redwoods. We in the beginning they wanted 100 students. After COVID, the reality of it, we were just not going to be able to get 100 students. So we negotiated 55 students annually would be enrolled in a certificate and degree program. The nice thing is, after COVID, I think we had like 30, 35. We're up to around 90, 91 students. So we're almost meeting that original 100 students per annually that are enrolled. We also are annually increasing the percentage of CTE concentrators who receive a recognized post-secondary credential. We've continued to do that. I think the first year when I was here, we had one student who graduated. A reminder, it was right after COVID. So just having that one, I think was a big deal here. This year, it's I'm happy to say is our biggest year that we've had so far. We're having, I want to believe, here at the center around 27 that will be walking here. So we're happy about that. The second project objective was to provide comprehensive student support services. So to annually increase percentage of CTE concentrators who remain enrolled, they're either they're enrolled, advanced training, military service or service program, or they're employed, which we do a really good job of. All of our CTE concentrators, I believe we average around 91 to 98%, that if not 100, like there's been a few times where 100% of our CTE concentrators are still enrolled or they're employed, you know, that you could see the benefit of our program.
Okay, so this this slide represents the responsibilities that are shared between HCATEP and CR. So, and that is to provide community outreach and recruitment, recruit and identify potential course instructors, participate in regular visits to KT and the main campus, provide relevant trainings to both college and KTIS staff, develop and deliver student enrollment and retention services, and exchange academic information among college staff, instructors, and Hoopa Higher Education program staff regarding student performance, attendance, transcripts, financial aid assessments, and student support services. So why is KTIS important to our community? As you can see from the graph that located on the slide, there's a disproportionate rate in academic achievement, employment, and poverty when you compare Hoopa to the rest of the state, right? So if we look at people within Hoopa who have a bachelor's degree or higher, it's around 16.7%, where all of California is around 37%. Employment and within Hoopa is about 38.2%. All of California is around 60%. And then we look at poverty. Poverty in Hoopa is above 28%, whereas all of California is a little over 12.
So I wanted to just share all of our staff that we currently have working. I'm the program manager. We're a fairly small staff. Matt is student service specialist and lead academic advisor. Winifred is student service specialist and academic support advisor. Lance, he does student service specialist as well as technology and advisor. We have Shaylin Moon, who's going to be a recent employee, and she's our principal accountant. Chwakin Latham does our student activities coordinator, so she does anything high school related. And Emerald Babankos is our receptionist and student support services. We no longer have the security and maintenance, but so for right now, this is our entire staff. So one of the major issues that happened for our program was that all of the long-term employees were basically they retired or they resigned. We had one person who was left that had been working for the past 2 years back in 2021, and that would be Matt. He was the only person who really knew the ins and outs of the program. All the rest of us were brand new, and so basically we were rebuilding this program and learning how to come together as a team. This includes like learning how the program operates. I'm pretty sure Matt kind of single-handedly had to train everybody here and help tell them like what it is we're supposed to be doing, tracking students. And so it was very interesting. It was nice because we were all kind of new, could come together. We didn't have people who were set in their ways, but it was still, a lot of responsibility, I think, was put on Matt at that time to kind of hold this program together. Now that we're fully staffed and we have employees who've been here for a few years, it's not as new. So we've kind of got everybody's roles in place. Then another major issue that we were facing at that time was low enrollment numbers at KT. So back in 2021, we had low class sizes. A lot of the students, when COVID hit and they went fully online, they weren't prepared. We had terrible internet, not having laptops, and so we faced at least like a 50% decrease in enrollment. So, there was a high rates of unemployment, lack of childcare, just our technology infrastructure was not there. So we continually had low enrollment, and then we were having a rough time trying to get fully staffed at the time. And then right after COVID, then the other thing was recruiting faculty. Faculty that would have to make the drive out here. Like we were talking about earlier about being the only higher education facility within like 64 miles of our location. That meant a lot of our faculty for certain areas would have to drive here to Hoopa. And after COVID, I know CR had a hard time just bringing faculty back. They liked the online learning, and so it was really hard to get staff back. So one of our things was just getting the classes, having the faculty, and then having enough students so that they weren't at risk for being dropped. right after COVID, they kind of given us an allowance. Like if we had 4 or 5 students, or maybe even 1 or 2, they kind of were okay with that for maybe about a year. But after that, they were starting to hold us a little more accountable. Um, so, and then back in 2001, when the program first started, class sizes were really high. They had the whole valley to choose from, the whole area. So we had a lot of older adults that were also taking classes. And so one of the things when I came on, we were trying to find a new group of students that we could get to fill these classes as well. So part of what we wanted to do was that's why we have the student activities coordinator position and working with the high school, doing concurrent enrollment, helping them when they got out of high school, where they were wanted to go, if they wanted to come to College of the Redwoods. So we had to do a lot more outreach as a small program and just do a lot more figuring out how to get our class sizes up and how to get the teachers out here, because there's a faculty or would not want to come out here if they were scheduled for a class and then last minute they got dropped because we only had maybe a couple students. And so it's really important to do a lot of outreach and get that enrollment so that we had faculty that knew that if they came out here to teach, that they weren't at risk for being dropped. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys was just some of the stuff. Not only do we do advising and um, just advising, ed plans, admissions, we help with financial aid, but we have to do a lot of outreach and recruitment for our program. So I just wanted to show you a few things that we do here.
Okay, student retention activities. So because we're like 74 miles away from the main campus, we try to replicate all the programs that they have out there at the main campus, right? So like our school has priority registration, and part of obtaining priority registration is go to student orientation. So we provide student orientation in person at the beginning of each semester. Um, Resume workshops and job fairs. So we partner with all the local tribal departments. Sometimes we've gotten like U.S. Forestry and Caltrans to show up at those as well. We have a pretty strong relationship with our career center, so they come out and help our students provide to create resumes and help them get prepared for those job fairs. We usually place them with the workshop first, and then the job fair. FAFSA Fridays, we help. We create space for students to do the FAFSA, and it's like it's a small area, so we get a lot of people coming over that just need help with their FAFSA that aren't even really you know locked into going to CR, but they're high school seniors. They just want to complete that goal, so they're ready to go on to the next step. We have a basic needs center, which is big, I mean, we've been able to put in a washer and dryer into our facility so students can come in and they can wash their clothes. They can take home pantry items every week. They can get a meal every day they go to class, and now that CR Basic Needs Center has these basic need grants for students in need. So it's been really helpful for our community. Academic advising. So our program provides individualized advising. So each one of our program participants will be assigned to an advisor from the time they start to the time they finish based upon what their last name is, right? And they will meet with that advisor 3 times per semester just to make sure they're on track to meet their educational goals. We purchase textbooks for students and then loan them out to them, and then they give them back at the end of the semester because that can often be a barrier in itself, just getting textbooks for a class. We've created a technology program where we can loan out laptops and hotspots to give to students in need to ensure. So, like, I mean, as we've so we're 74 miles from the closest from the other CR, right? And not all we can't provide all the in-person classes, so there's a real high probability that a student's going to have to take an online class. So we want to make sure they're prepared for that when that day comes. Stipend program. So at the end of the semester, if our students are successful in the courses that they've taken, We evaluate those transcripts, and we give them a cash incentive based upon how many units they completed. Mileage assistance. So any student that lives 10 or more miles from the campus that they are attending, they will be provided. It used to be 50 cents, but we were able to up it this semester to 70 cents. So 70 cents a mile to help with that commute. We also buy parking passes for our students that go out to the main campus. And we try to have like community events like movie nights and things of that. Something that's not on here that I think is worth mentioning is that every main semester we have a big event called a mid-semester celebration, right? And so we come together as a community. We recognize our students. We recognize their past grade point averages, by giving them certificates. We do instructor awards. Each instructor is able to nominate someone that's really stood out to them. And it's just a real empowering event for students, especially the students just starting off. And then also another thing that we do that's kind of different than other big campuses is we have a big we do our own graduation. And before that, we do a big graduation dinner and kind of celebrate our students in that way too. Okay, we've put in a community garden. It kind of started off as like just a Earth Day thing at one time. And then in 2023, we became a host site for College Corps. And College Corps focuses on three goals, and food sovereignty is one of them. So we put in a big garden, as you can see here, and we allow the students to come out and harvest the food that they want, and the last semester we were able to partner with another local a local grant funded program, and we were able to provide the produce that we grew that students weren't giving to this program, and then it was given to elders in the community. Student outreach efforts. So as Misty explained earlier, we have one employee that kind of does a lot of outreach in the high school, and this is some of the work that she's doing. So she's created college clubs at the different high schools, one at high school and one at the continuation school. And it's just a space for students to come together and learn more about college, and just what to expect and how to be prepared for that. Our local TANF program every year has a summer youth program, and they'll place students at different job sites and work sites, but they also have the students take these work readiness courses, and we provide those work readiness courses. And with that, we do Myers-Briggs assessments. We help them create resumes. We do a lot of that stuff. Health fair. Health fair is just an outreach opportunity that we have here in Hoopa. The Kamal Medical Center puts it on. It's a good opportunity to have outreach and just table and provide information about our program. Different that one below it's just tabling. So we're located in Hoopa, but there's a lot of like neighboring communities that are like 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles away from them, and those are the places represented in that bullet point. So every time during the month, there's a nonprofit that provides food at those places, and different social services organizations are allowed to go table at those events. So we'll go table just to try to help people sign up for school, so they don't have to come all the way to Hoopa to jump through the hoops that needed to get signed up for school. This one right here says in progress, but this has been completed. So we now have what's called HCATEP, right? And it's a career and education exploration program for the high school. And just I want to say 2 weeks ago, or maybe longer than that, 3 weeks ago, Misty, myself, and Chwakin took 10 high school students on a college tour of 5 different campuses in Northern California. This right here is back to school block party. So the education department puts on this every August, and we shut down our street. And so like every kid in the community gets a free backpack, and we do fun things like we did snow cones, someone else does popcorn, and we just it's a fun tabling event that we provide. Sovereign's Day is another big event here locally. It's like a whole weekend event. The first day is like down at the neighborhood facilities lawn, and that's what you're seeing right there. Every year we do watermelon eating contest. Then the following day is a float parade, a parade where different departments provide floats, and you can see our Care Bear float that we made. I think that was last year or the year before.
I think it was last year.
Yeah. So, and sports are a big deal here locally. And so since Misty's came on as our director, she's been able to create this partnership with the College of the Redwoods sports programs and been able to bring out the different programs to provide camps for the young youth on the reservation. This one right here is a softball clinic, and the next one slide is going to show a soccer clinic that happened a couple weeks ago.
So our first time when we first met, Arari and Rob was back in 2021. And so back then, our goals ended up trying to figure out a way to recruit faculties and try to complete a GE requirements at KT. So we had hoped to identify ways to ensure that our program offerings and support services would remain responsive to our community. And for a project, we wanted to advocate for the faculty to try and have them make the drive out to KT and to teach the face-to-face general classes. And the reason our face-to-face is so important to our community is because the lack of reliable internet and technology and having students who just learn better when they have that face-to-face communication and can engage back and forth with their instructor. So at this time, students would have to make the long drive out to College of the Redwoods or take online classes just to finish their general ed at KT. So we ended up working on ways to recruit faculty and who were willing to teach face-to-face out at KT. At least 2 years, once every 2 years. As you can see, these are some of the road conditions. If they had to drive, let's say their class was offered in the spring and they needed to take in the spring and they weren't gonna know when they could take it again, this is what they would be driving through if they had an 8 a.m. class. These are like actual pictures of our roads anywhere from January to like April. I want to say you could see this, and the snow could be 2 to 3 feet tall. And they've at this point they're even closing roads. They won't let anybody by. And so we wanted to try to figure out a way where we could, talk to faculty, and maybe if they came out once every 2 years, we could schedule a fall class with them. And the driving, it would be safe for the students, safe for the faculty. They could come out. We wouldn't be sending a bunch of students out to take these classes out at the main campus. And the main campus isn't 63 miles. That's Cal Poly. The main campus is 74 miles one way out to CR. But our goal was with our first LFM was that we wanted to be able to at least offer the general ed here at KT. Because once we knew that they could get through like the math, the English, science, all of that, and then they were successful as a student, then maybe we could add on the additional stress that it's going to be to have to make that drive out to College of the Redwoods. Because a lot of our students, they may not even believe they can be a student. They might be just taking classes just to see if they can do it. And so the last thing you want to do is tell them, okay, now we want you to drive like 3 or 4 times a week out in the snow out to the main campus. And due to the extent of this project, it was something that we ended up doing over 2 LFM academies. And we had a lot of different like just ideas and trying to come up with what the goals were for it. So the other thing I just wanted to mention, back when we did the first LFM, I was brand new. Sorry, I lost my voice. I was a brand new manager for the Hoopa Higher Education program. And like I said, Matt had the knowledge of all of the program, how it worked and everything. And so I had worked for the tribe for a very long time. So I knew all the ins and outs of the tribe, but I didn't know much about College of the Redwoods. So it was awesome that part of our leading from the middle was they encouraged us to find and recruit people from different parts of our program. They didn't want everybody, so we didn't want to put everybody from our program here because then it doesn't really help us to gain knowledge of the other workings of College of the Redwoods. So for me, it really helped me learn a lot more about the workings of College of the Redwoods. And so I just wanted to see if Matt wanted to kind of share what it was for him too, that
Yeah,
first
for sure.
elephant.
So it's definitely a progression. Like when our first convening, so I was still working towards higher education while working in higher education, you know, and that can be extremely intimidating at times, and almost create this imposter syndrome like situation, And so like when I was started into this first convening, I was still working on a bachelor's degree, So if I was less likely to chime in different activities with it when we were working in those programs because I wasn't sure. You always have that thing like I don't want to say the wrong thing or do that, right? And then over time, the program helped me learn like to understand that I did deserve to belong. I did deserve to be there, right? And I continued my education. I ended up getting a master's degree while at LFM too. I mean, LFM's there through my whole education career almost. And something that's really interesting that to be pointed out. Misty started the project. One of our projects was to get more faculty at KTIS. And before the program was over, she and I are both faculty at KTIS. So I mean, it's been like enormous growth on my part while being part of this program, and it's just been awesome. So
Um, and I think what that was really important for a lot of us too was the partnerships that we created. When we would reach out, we got different members from College of the Redwoods, and it was amazing at how much we learned about college, about CR, the union and all of that, because that was all new to me. We learned so much from these meetings, from like Rob, and we had Gussie, and we had Morgan and Colin, and then we had Tim and Pakuni and Paiwa, but just learning like what it is like to be out on the main campus, because we're in a tribal program here. We're located on a reservation. We don't get to see the workings and what the different hierarchies are out at College of the Redwoods, and we learned so much about that by going to LFM. And one of the things, we also did was we tried to create some future like goals that would be awesome that we could do if we created all of these like presentations. We could share our program. The importance of our having faculty come out here was kind of something we did in like the first couple of the LFMs. And so one of the things I wanted to share was, we had talked about maybe going to like the academic senate. How would we take it to the academic senate because of their power over what's happening at CR? And so our project is continued even today. Like just not that long ago, we had the MDC committee is now the Elevate committee, but they came and realized of how much work that we had been doing. So they actually took this resolution and took it to the academic senate, talking about, reaffirming College of the Redwoods commitment to the diversity, equity, and inclusion, emphasizing the need for tailored support for rural and tribal students. And it encourages faculty to prioritize in-person teaching at rural campuses adopt inclusive teaching practices, provide mentorship, and engage in outreach efforts. They put it at the academic senate. And this was something we just talked about in our first LFM, hey, this would be a great goal. And now what is it, like 4 or 5 years later, it's still happening. And this just happened not that long ago. And then another thing, our Elevate committee, they decided this past year that they wanted to make our um our LFM project sort of their priority. By a huge landslide, they continued to do the advocating for increased on-campus course offerings at KT Instructional Site. And that's still in progress today. So they were going to come up with some posters, because one of the things we had heard was we didn't even know about KT. There was a lot of faculty who had been at CR, didn't even know we had a site out here, that there was an option to come out here and teach. And so that has been one of their priorities, and they're doing presentations out at College of the Redwoods. And so it's been pretty awesome just to see all of the stuff that we took on in the beginning still happening today, and still, being that priority. So I think because of our LFM project, there's a lot more just understanding of KT out here, some of our needs. And so I thought that was pretty awesome, and that I wanted to share, because in the beginning it was sort of just like, hey, these would be awesome, like, goals that we could do sometime. And for me, I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I don't know if we could um, get it that far, but it's awesome to see that it's actually happening. So then I
It
kind of
kind of,
wanted to, the last thing was talk about our final project. Um, we decided to change it up a little bit. The first wasn't, it was more about trying to figure out how to talk to CR, how to do recruitment, get the faculty out here, how to let them see the importance of KT. And our current project is more about gathering data, because it's easy for us to say like, hey, we need this, the students need this and all of that, but we didn't have any student voice at the time. And so that is what our current project is. And, in partnership with the other campuses. So we've done a focus group out at Del Norte. We've done one out at the main campus. We've done one here, and we're still in the process of gathering data. Right now we have some recordings, so we're going to be going through and breaking down just what the student said. And so I think that's pretty awesome that we're going to be doing that probably for the next couple of months. So, um, yeah, do you want to share anything, Matt?
yeah, just kind of piggyback on some of the things you've said. So like, LFM was really big about creating relationships institutionally for us. There was a time that we were almost like siloed, and it was this us against them mentality, it felt like. And since then we've been able to create these relationships with people, find out who those champions are, and break down those silos where we're getting support, where we don't have to be the ones continuously asking for things, because now we have other people asking for things on our behalf, right? And so, like, I mean, going back to that Elevate and the things that happened there. So, like, now this next academic year, we have at least two full-timers that want to come out here and teach classes. We've only had one full-timer out here before. And so that's a big deal. It's especially big deal because one of the courses being offered is an art class, and we all know you have to have an art to graduate. Yet we haven't had an in-person art in like, 4 to 5 years. So it's just we've been through the program and the relationships we've established and the people willing to advocate on our behalf, there's just a lot of changes happening and it's like, you know, it's really awesome to be part of that process.
And one of the things that we were recently told, we were awarded the, I'm not sure how to say it. How do you say it, Matt? Assess to this?
Festivus, yeah. It's through
Festivus Award for our
yeah.
LFM project.
Yeah, and that's through the institutional effectiveness um, committee.
Yeah, they heard a little bit about what it is we're trying to do. And I think that the goal is once we're done, we want to share that information. We want to share that data. And so they're definitely interested in hearing what we have to say. So that's exciting to know that after we do all of this data, gather it all, disseminate all the information, that there's people that are going to want to hear what it is that we found out that is going on with Native students, and what are their barriers, what support systems do they have, and just figure out how can College of the Redwoods support them. So I think that's pretty awesome too.
That's fantastic.
And we're done. So any questions?
You're getting lots of reactions, Misty.
I was a little worried about making that 45 minutes.
You did great. Any questions from anybody?
I have a question. My name is Carol Liu. I'm a research analyst at City College San Francisco. Sorry, I put the wrong filter. But anyway, I wondering how how so first of all, I'm really interested to know that career relationship to have faculty on site could be one of the goal for LFM. So because it's very non-tangible goal, it's kind of like hard to measure. I want to know during the project how LFM can help the college to achieve this goal. Does it make sense?
So are you asking how did LFM help the college want to give us more faculty?
Yeah. How do you work on that? Because that is one of the goal you were in
I think it's been an ongoing process, you know. I mean, when we started off, and I think one thing that's important to point out is within the projects or the series of projects, there has been changes of leadership in different areas, you know, within the school. So like we had at one point we had two deans. One oversaw CTE and the other one oversaw everything else. Okay. The CTE dean was pretty receptive and helpful for getting us classes that he thought that we could fill or had the availability to instruct. But the other one, it seemed like he was a bit resistant at times and would feed us this line that nobody wants to come out here. And like Misty was pointing out, it was brought up when we finally got this to the faculty to hear, you know, there was a group of faculty that's like, we've never heard that, you know. And during that same time, that dean has since retired. So now in his place, instead of one person doing everything, we have two separate deans. And so they're just coming in, and that can be a challenge too, because then they have to learn about the whole like, you know, relationship between KTIS and CR, you know, but it seems like, you know, things might be changing. At least we have some sort of momentum. So I think the biggest thing that LFM did is it helped us understand more about the structure of the college. It helped us understand where we should take these things, who we should get like backing from, and in doing so, you know, we've been able to move things forward.
And we found some strong champions. Morgan has been one of their biggest supporters, Gussie. And anytime we have questions or we need to know what's something that's going on out there, we can reach out to him. Colin is a great support system, and that was all because of our LFM. just having that. And Tim has been great. He's in IR, so information. And anytime we have these different areas at CR, we have our NASC program and all these people in different areas that are now are just are huge advocates out at CR because of LFM.
You were talking about those people are the Alpha Fam coaches, right? The two people you mentioned is the coaches from Alpha Fam.
No, these were people that were part of our LFM group.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So
Thank you.
the majority of our team were tribal employees, but in order to make the program work effectively, we brought on, different team members that are strictly College of the Redwoods employees. And when they were different people for each convening. So we had a chance to have 4 different CR employees work on three separate projects.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
very good to hear. Thank you so much for the information.
Yeah, I think it was huge to be able to do that. We're a small staff, so I think me and Matt consistently were part of LFM, but having the different people from CR was huge, because instead of having the same person each time would have limited how many advocates that we had out there at CR. So it just helped widen our net of people that became our champions, came to, because they heard an in-depth account of KT and what's going on and how students are not getting the same services. They actually would come out and see our program and participate in these different activities. So they really got to see more about KT instead of just, oh yeah, that's the site out in Hoopa, where some of people never even came out here and knew what our program looked like.
Thank you. Actually, can I ask one follow-up question?
Yeah.
Definitely it make a big change, a huge impact on the KT, I can tell. Initially, how do you put this project forward? How do you ask for funding? Consider it's KT is a remote side of the whole district, right? So do you need to do some persuade?
So because I was a brand new manager, I worked for the tribe for a long time, so I knew a lot of the ins and outs. I got my master's degree, but I worked in early childhood for a long time, and that's now what I teach here at KT is early childhood education. So I was happy to still get to use my degree and everything, but because of the master's and my education, and they needed a manager here, so I got to switch over to the higher education and all of that. But being brand new, and our education director, who was my supervisor, had been part of an RP event at one time, and so she sent me some information about this, and I was thinking, oh well, this sounds perfect, like it would be a great professional development activity for me. We had the funding, and so it is important to know the tribe paid for this event, or paid for LFM. It wasn't College of the Redwoods, it was through the Hoopa Valley tribe. So it was more of something I thought could be beneficial for me and the staff as new people, to learn more about how to make it equitable, how to make our program, our students have the same services as what they were getting out at CR. Because the first thing I heard was that just remember, like, it's kind of a us against them. Like, remember, you have to really advocate. They don't think about KT. We're always like last to get anything. And so it was a really negative relationship or between the two. And I think it was a combination of both. It needed to be, CR could have reached out a little more, but I think the people here could have also reached out, because it was I think they kind of enjoyed being, just managing themselves. They didn't have to deal with the stuff at CR either, but it really lacked in that relationship. Like, they didn't really know what was going on out here either. So the funding pretty much came from the tribe whenever we participated. And the tribe also paid for the CR people to come out. The one thing CR did do was allow these people, to come to these academies, and they were on the clock and all of that. So they paid their wages and stuff, but we paid like for travel and all of that. And then of course LFM provided the hotels and the meals and stuff, but a lot of it was through the tribe for participating in these academies.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any final questions before we wrap up? Okay, well, I will just want to thank both Matt and Misty for taking the time to share about their participation in LFM. And I actually learned a few new things I didn't know. So, so it's always great. And, you know, RP is very committed to working to the work that we've done with Misty and KT and College of the Redwoods. And we are not saying goodbye because they can't get rid of us that quickly. So we will continue to support their efforts. So thanks everyone who attended.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, as someone who's worked with LFM for years and just kind of been on the outside as the logistics, it was so wonderful to hear your story and just the progress over the 3 years. I didn't know almost any of it, and I felt like I was listening to like this is what LFM is all about, bringing people together to build these relationships and figure out how you can move a project forward through coalitions. And I thought, and building the confidence to make those coalitions happen. So it was nice to see your project moving forward so strongly. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.